Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
Looking for a knife that's more than just metal? The Rainy Forge handcrafts blades in a real coal forge, the way they were meant to be made. Every knife is meticulously crafted, hair-popping sharp, and built to last a lifetime. From hunting to cooking, we've got a blade for you. Affordable heirloom quality. Visit therainyforgeblacksmith.com and click Buy a Knife to get started. The Rainy Forge, built with tradition, ready for your adventure.
Attention, you're listening to the Todd Huff Radio Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk radio. Be advised that the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
That is right, my friends. We're continuing our discussion of Biden's magical electronic signature pin here this hour. We talked about that in the first hour. I want to get more into it here in this hour and pick up where we left off. By the way, if you missed anywhere or anything in the last hour, we won't hold that against you. You can go to the website, toddhuffshow.com, and listen there or anywhere that you listen to podcasts, frankly. Just search the Todd Huff Show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of those places are where you can listen to this program. And we're building a Rumble channel. It's on pause at the moment, just because there's some technical glitches with some sound issues that came up last week during the program on Rumble, but the program will be there as well. Anyway, it's good to be here. If you are listening to my voice in Portland for the first time, I want to say welcome to the program. We're honored to be on in your city. We are expanding and growing this program. I've been doing this, started podcasting in a bedroom closet, believe it or not, in 2015, August 10th of 2015, almost 10 years. And so now we are expanding, and your city is now a station that we broadcast on. So it is good to meet you. I thank you for listening, and we're going to hit the ground running here talking about, well, the next part of what I want to discuss here with Biden's pen and now Trump saying, hey, we're going to not, these last-minute pardons are not legitimate. They're null and void. I want to get to all of that. But, friends, before I do that, if you are in sales, let me ask you something. Are you where you want to be? Whether you're struggling to close deals or just want to sharpen your skills, Matt Easton and Easton University can help. Now, I've gotten to know Matt. I'm familiar. We've done, our team has done trainings with Easton University. It is a phenomenal sales training, sales coaching system. I highly recommend it. Matt and his team do a great job. Let me give you a special deal if you want to join and become a student at Easton University. If you do so, as a listener of this program, Matt Easton's going to personally jump on a phone call with you and go through your specific sales challenges to help you get back on track. This is not a cookie cutter training. It's a personalized coaching system from one of the best in the business. If you follow Matt's system, I'm telling you, it will pay off, my friends, but you've got to take the first step. And how do you do that? You go to sales.toddhuffshow.com, sales.toddhuffshow.com, and that's spelled H-U-F-F. That's my last name. Don't be giving me the wrong spellings, H-O-U-G-H. That's just the wrong. I'm kidding, but it's H-U-F-F. Sales.toddhuffshow.com. Visit there to claim your one-on-one call with Matt Easton when you become a member, a student of Easton University. Again, sales.toddhuffshow.com. Don't let this opportunity pass you by, my friends. Invest in yourself. You are worth it, and this will be a great, tremendous opportunity for you. He does a great, great job. I can't speak highly enough of Matt. I know. I've got to move on here, but I think Matt's stuff is fantastic. All right. So when we left off last hour, we were talking about this electronic pen, this pen that Biden was using for virtually everything in his administration. You've got a president that the Democrat Party power brokers knew was not in his right mind from the time that they chose him to be their candidate in 2020, but they hid it from the American people. They didn't hide it from all of us because many of us knew exactly what was going on. But some folks were clueless. They were clueless until the debates in July of last summer in 2024, where they saw Biden completely derailed. It was so bad they could no longer circle the wagons and defend him. And so the Democrat Party, the media, the 7 pillars of propaganda, they got together and they decided it was time to announce Kamala Harris as the nominee for the Democrat Party. And then, of course, we know what happened in that election. But that is the background. But someone was still president from the time they decided the guy couldn't finish sentences on the debate stage in July through January 20th of 2025. So roughly 6 months or so that Biden was still ostensibly supposed to be our president. But they were using this autopen, this digital way of signing that didn't require the president's handwritten signature. And so, according to the New York Post, there were reports. There's at least one person inside the administration who apparently, according to this source, it's unnamed source, I'm not saying that this is definitively the case, but this is what is being reported. And this individual said that they were suspicious, basically, of the person, one particular staffer, one particular aide to President Biden. This person was apparently running the show behind the scenes. And as the article points out, the New York Post, this, of course, is on our website, on today's stack, in today's stack. If you go to the website, toddhuffshow.com, and you want to read this yourself, I've just gone through a little bit of this, picking up kind of midway in this article. Everyone was suspicious of this individual exceeding their authority when claiming to speak for the president, the source said. But no one would actually say it. So, you've got a president that isn't present, maybe physically present, sometimes not even physically present. But even if he's physically present, there were genuine concerns about how mentally present he was. And so there's this other staffer, this other aide, as being reported, that people were suspicious of. They thought this person has a lot of power, but everyone was afraid to speak up. I mean, does this sound like the most transparent administration in history to you? So this is what this aide says, and this source inside the White House says this: I think the aide was using the autopen as standard and past protocol, the Post's informant said. There is no clarity on who actually approved what. POTUS, of course, that's the president of the United States, or the aide. So this person's saying, look, this person ran the show. Everyone knew it. They were afraid to say anything because of the repercussions, the ramifications, what that would mean for them. This doesn't sound like leadership, by the way. This sounds like the Wild West. This sounds like anything but democracy, if you ask me. I thought they were fighting to save our democracy. They wouldn't even speak up. They were allowing their voices to be silenced, allegedly, reportedly here, by the person who was secretly running the White House. I told Oz during the break, Oz was trying to give the administration the benefit of the doubt. She said, look, could this aide have acted on behalf of the president with the president's approval and authority? I mean, to some degree, possibly, but you certainly can't have a secret president. You certainly can't have the president signing things that he didn't know he's signing. That's not how this works. That can't be the case. You recall, this reminds me of the time just a few weeks ago. It's been since Trump's been elected, I believe. Speaker Mike Johnson told the story of a conversation he had with Biden in his waning days in office and Biden's last days in the White House. And Speaker Johnson questioned Biden about something he had signed, some executive action, I believe, that he had signed, and the president didn't have any recollection, or he thought it was something totally different. And Mike Johnson said, no, that's not at all what you signed, Mr. President. You signed something that did this, this, and this, to which the president had no idea. And so it sounds like that was what was happening in the final days of the White House here. It sounds like a scene from The Office, right? When Dwight Schrute takes over in Michael Scott's absence and is the manager for the day or whatever, and he asks Pam Halpert to be his secret helper or whatever it was, or when Dwight was determined to be the assistant regional manager. Jim, of course, says he's not the assistant regional manager. He's the assistant to the regional manager. Anyway, the point is that there's a bunch of nonsense going on here, a bunch of shenanigans reportedly going on here that may have been happening in the final days of the White House, of course, during the whole term of Biden's presidency, because it was a mismanaged nightmare and an absolute wreck. Again, the source saying there's no clarity on who actually approved what, the President of the United States or this particular aide that no one has yet managed. The second Biden White House source agreed that the person was suspected of assuming the then president's positions and handing down orders. I'm reading from this article again at the New York Post, without it being clear if they actually had communicated with the commander-in-chief. So another aide or another person inside the White House said, look, this person would be leading down a path and saying, this is the direction we need to go, without actually saying that they were authorized to take this action or step by the commander-in-chief. Some didn't even know if he'd actually communicated. He or she had communicated with the commander-in-chief. Several other former staffers, including those who in the past have offered unvarnished assessments of what they view as the shortcomings of the ex-president and his core staff, described the allegation as absurd and said they never saw the person abuse their authority. So there is disagreement. There's a couple of people. There's one person who's making the claim. There's another person who seems to suggest that this might have been happening. They could see how it made sense, but there's others who said this wasn't happening. Whatever the case, that's the background. So why does it matter specifically here? Well, you'll remember that during this first and only term of President Joseph Robinette Bribery, that there was one of the first things that was done in that Congress during Biden's first term was the House Select Committee, this January 6th committee. And you know that Republicans, they offered a couple of people to be on that committee. The only two that were allowed to be on the committee that were Republican were rhinos, were make-believe Republicans. One of them was Liz Cheney, who's no longer in the White House. The other was Adam Kinzinger. About forgot his last name there for a minute. The one who cried crocodile tears and did a performance during one of the hearings for the January 6th commission. So that committee, which had two fake Republicans and a bunch of Democrats, of course, ramrodded and, totally had a one-sided attack on President Trump, basically saying that he, of course, was guilty of inspiring and leading a insurrection, a coup d'etat, trying to establish himself as the lifetime leader of this country by taking over the Capitol building or some such thing. Of course, we've since seen the video. Listen, there's all sorts of questions. There's all sorts of questions about January 6th. Why did they fire the tear gas? Why were some of the protesters who were standing at gates and barricades, why did law enforcement moved those and waved them into the building. Lots of questions. There certainly were things that happened that day that people should be held criminally liable for, but there were other things that happened that day that implicated people that were simply walking where law enforcement told them they could go. So there's a whole bunch of questions, a whole bunch of things that we have since seen since this new Congress came into to town and released the video and all of that, released the footage, all of the footage on January 6th. The January 6th committee had a vested interest in making sure that you and I only saw a particular narrative of that day. They made sure that the clips that we saw were certain clips, and some of those clips were damning, and some of those clips were inexcusable behavior by people. I don't deny that. But there's a whole lot of other context that was left out intentionally. On top of that, there was evidence that the committee destroyed. The committee destroyed the evidence when it was disbanded and so forth. It had done the damage necessary. Of course, we know that Trump was impeached a second time after leaving the White House and all this sort of stuff. But anyway, so that's the mess that we found ourselves in. So you fast forward to the end of Biden's term. So you have Trump's campaign. Trump's campaign goes through all the stuff they had to go through. Trump announced that he was running for president. They decided at that particular point in time, the Democrats, the people that were in positions of power, okay, it's time to go full on, to throw everything we can at Trump, to keep him from winning the nomination, to try anything possible to prevent him from walking back in to the White House. Now, by this particular point in time, in hindsight now, we know this, but it was too late. Many of us suspected this at the time, but of course, America is so politically divided, and there are truly insane people out there casting ballots, people who have been lied to and deceived and so forth, who have just some really off-the-rails ideas when it comes to what our nation should be doing, what type of government we have, what our tax code should be, what our Constitution says. There's some really crazy people out there, my friends. So, but we have, since it's been solidified, we've since confirmed that this was done, that there was nothing left that the Democrats could do. They threw everything at him. They tried to throw the guy in prison. They had an incredibly large civil judgment placed against him in the city of New York, 400 and whatever it was, some odd $1 million. And they tried everything they could. They tried to keep him from being on the ballot in certain states. They tried to make sure he couldn't run. They tried to say that he was unqualified by the Constitution for being someone engaged in insurrection, thereby making his candidacy null and void, I guess. It's something that should not be permitted. They tried everything. There was even an attempt on his life where his ear was grazed by a bullet, in spite of the left refusing to believe this. They decided to do whatever it took. Listen, folks, there are people, whatever your thoughts are about who's responsible for what on the assassination attempt. I mean, there were definite problems with his security details, so bad, in fact, that it would lead many to think, how could this ever be allowed to happen just by a series of incompetent decisions or actions, leading people to say what was really going on here. But whatever your conclusions on all of that stuff is, you can certainly at least recognize that there were leftists who were, when the president nearly lost his life, that were quite literally out there saying he should have practiced more. The shooter should have practiced more. He shouldn't have missed. It was oh so close. They were cheering for it to take the president out. I mean, it's evil in ways I can't even articulate on this program. They were cheering for this. They were wishing he was dead. Anytime someone in the Trump family dies and it's not Donald J. Trump, there is a hashtag that trends on social media that says wrong Trump. The wrong Trump died. We want Donald Trump, the left would say, to die. It is insane. It is wicked. It It is evil. They threw everything they could at this guy, and they could not stop him. So he gets into office. He hits the ground running. He gets virtually everybody into his cabinet that he wants. The Matt Gaetz situation. I mean, basically, Trump gets Kash Patel. He gets Tulsi Gabbard. He gets RFK Jr. They are hitting the ground running. Trump is deporting people. Trump has effectively closed the border. Trump is talking about massive changes to tax law. Trump is talking about defunding every government agency imaginable. This, for conservatives, this is a wonderful time. But he's also looking at the people who allowed all of that lawfare to happen. He's also looking at the people like Adam Kinzinger, like Liz Cheney, the people on that committee who have destroyed, reportedly, allegedly, evidence that no longer exists. They've destroyed stuff. Trump says, acted in corrupt ways, and that this was a sham committee, and that they're going to now be investigated, even though Biden signed these pardons for them. And herein lies the problem. Biden, in his final days, signed preemptive pardons, which there's some questions as to whether or not you can have a preemptive pardon. There was a preemptive pardon basically given to Hunter Biden his wasn't, in a way it could have been preemptive. Anything he did over a 10-year period of time, whether he had been charged yet or not, he basically is immune from. He's got a get-out-of-jail free card. I think it's 11 years. An 11-year period of time, or right about that. So he could have done whatever he wanted during that period of time. Whether we know about it or not, he basically has a get-out-of-jail free card. Which, by the way, leads people like me to say, if that's the case, this guy has no risk of being in prison. He can't be found guilty of crimes if that particular pardon stands up to scrutiny. Then bring him into Congress and have him testify. He can't claim the fifth anymore because he's not going to incriminate himself, because he can't. He can't incriminate himself because of the pardon. But then you also had last-minute pardons given to the January 6th committee, given to Adam Kinzinger, given to Liz Cheney, given to other Democrats on that committee. And now Trump says those pardons are null and void because this guy in the White House, who the only person that can issue these pardons, didn't really issue the pardons. Didn't issue them because of reasons I gave you in the New York Post. He didn't know what was going on. There's this electronic pen. Nobody knows if he was even aware of these last-minute decisions. Reports that people in Congress, people in his White House, were looking to one another, wondering who's running the show. One particular person an insider in the White House said that there was a staffer running the show, and they were doing things using the autopen. Some people think or question as to whether or not it was even done with Biden's knowledge and approval. So you have a mess, and Trump's come out and said, I'm not going to honor this. And by the way, if you're someone that's tied to that January 6th committee, House Select Committee, just be prepared. You're being investigated because we think you've done some bad things, and you are about to be held accountable for what has, happened. All right. I'm to the end of this segment, my friends, and my voice has totally gotten a frog in the throat here. Quick timeout. Back in just a minute.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
Take the guesswork out of gourmet. Playhouse Spices gives you a leg-up weapon in the kitchen. Playhouse Spices elevates your cooking with gourmet, handcrafted blends made with clean, healthy ingredients. Explore exciting flavors and become a masterful home chef. Visit PlayhouseSpices.com and use code TODD for 20% off your first order over $50. Playhouse Spices. Seek, explore, taste. That's playhousespices.com.
Seeking natural solutions for your health and wellness? Look no further than Garden Root Remedy. We offer handcrafted herbal tinctures, salves, teas, and more made with only the highest quality organic herbs. We provide personalized consultations to help you find the perfect herbal remedy for your specific needs. Experience the power of nature's healing touch. Visit Garden Root Remedy online at gardenrootremedy.com. That's gardenrootremedy.com. Rooted in nature, blooming with wellness.
Welcome back, my friends. I want to shift gears here. Covered that for a full hour and the first segment of the second hour. I want to shift gears here to something that's tied to one of the things I said to indirectly. You will recall that we talked about Trump in that discussion of all the things that had happened. We talked about the attempted assassination of President Trump, and I didn't say this part, but one of the things that Trump is on record as saying, in fact, I played this on the program, I think last week. Time is a blur sometimes. It could have been the week before that, but Trump said that he believed that God spared his life, that God saved him from being assassinated. Trump says that he believes God saved him to make America great again. That's what Trump said, which leads to this next article talking about where Americans, the percentage of Americans that believe either in God or that God, quote, affects lives. I want to get into that. I find this interesting and relates to some of the things happening out there because, well, it relates to everything, candidly, but I want to talk about this. Before I do that, though, my friends, I know you care about this country, right? There's no question about that. I know you do, but you can't fight for America if you're not taking care of yourself. That's why I'm telling you about Solti. Solti is an all-natural, clinically proven supplement that lowers cholesterol safely. No prescriptions. No doctor's visits. This, by the way, there's no prescription because it's not a drug, but it still works, my friends. Science has spoken on this. All you have to do is take 2 Solti soft gels a day. I take it myself, and I think that if you have a concern about your heart health, if you've had a history of high cholesterol, maybe you have high cholesterol specifically, but maybe it runs in your family, you're concerned about your heart health, or maybe you're just aging and you want to proactively do things that have been documented by science to show that is good for your health. Check out Solti. Don't let high cholesterol slow you down. We need healthy, strong Americans, my friends. You need to be there for your family. You got to be there for your business, your job, all these things, your faith. But you also are needed in this country. So go to Solti.com, Soltea, Solti.com. Use promo code Todd, my first name. You're going to save 50% off your first order. Get free shipping. It's a great deal. It's very affordable. That's Solti.com, Soltea, promo code Todd. Take care of your heart, my friends, because America needs you in this fight. I got selfish motivations here. I'm kidding. I want you to be healthy. That's one of the ways you can do it. Solti.com, Soltea, promo code Todd. All right. Headline here. This is at the Christian Post. I saw this come in yesterday through the Christian Post email newsletter, I guess. Headline, Barna, America needs spiritual renewal as fewer than half of Americans believe God exists. A new survey has found that more than half of Americans do not believe God exists or that he, quote, affects lives, prompting one prominent researcher to highlight the need for, quote, sweeping national repentance and spiritual renewal. Now, pause for a minute. I wanted to share this because it's fascinating to me as a follower of Jesus. It's concerning to me as a follower of Jesus, as someone who's believes that God exists and that he does affect our lives. In fact, if you read the Bible, that's the whole purpose. God wants a relationship with his creation. I'll go into that a little bit. But I wanted to share this with you anyway, but as I was thinking about Trump's comments about how God spared his life, Trump now would apparently be in the minority, along with me, in the fewer than half of the Americans who believe that God exists and that he affects lives. The Cultural Research Center, reading the article here, at Arizona Christian University, released the second installment of its American Worldview Inventory 2025 on Wednesday. This would have been Wednesday of last week. The research found that overall, 60% of Americans do not believe God exists or that he affects lives. Now, that's a big percentage. So 3 out of 5, not to confuse any socialists who are terrible at math who may have tuned in today, but 3 out of 5 Americans believe that either God does not exist or that he affects lives. Now, that's grouping a lot of people together. But basically what it's saying is if God exists, he's not really involved in our day-to-day lives. That's what most Americans believe. Some of them don't even believe he exists. Some believe he exists, but they're more of a theist. The theist is one who believes God created the universe. Kind of, the old analogy is he wound up the old clock, and then he walked away and had other things, more important things to do than manage this crazy world that we live in. So God doesn't affect our lives. 60% of people believe that. Now, here's even what's more concerning to me as a follower of Jesus. It says nearly half of self-identified Christians, 47%, and a slightly smaller share of theologically identified born-again Christians, 40%, said the same. So you have nearly half of Christians who surely, I'm guessing, they're not saying God doesn't exist, because I can't wrap my head around just the pure logic of that. How can you be a follower of Christ? That's what Christian means, little Christ followers, one who's trying to emulate and follow God. How can you believe that? How can you call yourself a Christian if you don't believe God exists? Although I will tell you that when I was in college, I spent a semester in a pre-law program at American University in Washington, D.C. And through a series of events I won't bore you with right now, I ended up sharing a room with an individual. His name was Jonathan. He was in law school. He was a second or third year law student at American University. I shared a room with him for a bit. He was Jewish, but he also told me he was an atheist, which was really hard for me to wrap my head around. It still is, as a matter of fact. But nonetheless, 40% or 47% of Christians basically said God doesn't get involved in our lives, and 40% of people who call themselves born-again Christians, which is really fascinating because the concept, well, troubling too, but just theologically speaking, the concept of being born again means that the person believes that they have repented of their sins, confessed Jesus as Lord, and are following him. So the idea is that God is intimately involved with you, to where he's made you a new creature, where he has called you, as he's called all of us, in the sense of accepting his forgiveness. But anyway, so to think that this is how most people are now thinking, and almost getting close to most Christians who think that God either does not exist or he does not affect our lives. Now, I've been doing a study. I've shared this on here from time to time. It's a Bible study. It's called, what's it called? The Bible Recap. The girl that does it, her name is Tara Lee Cobble. It is phenomenally well done. It is a read through the Bible chronologically plan in a year. Now, I didn't get it done in a year. I got behind, but I'm almost to the New Testament now. I think I'm in, what am I in? Zechariah is where I am right now. But she does a phenomenal job. And listen, I've been a Christian since 1993. So what's that? That's almost 32 years later this year. So I've been around the Bible for a while, but I have to tell you, I've learned things, and I've learned the biblical narrative, especially reading it in order and getting some details plugged in. It's a phenomenal story. It is a beautiful, best story the world has ever been told without remotely close second. It is an incredible story. How someone can read through the Bible and conclude that God does not want to be, nor does God have the capacity or interest or ability or whatever to be intimately involved with our lives is crazy to me. It is. And I know I'm speaking here as someone who's in the minority. I just wanted to share this, especially in the wake of what's happened with President Trump saying that his life was spared by God, especially in the wake of where we are as a country. So, I believe that we've been given one more opportunity here. I do. I think we've been given by God one more opportunity. So to reclaim this culture, to not chase and to basically live in darkness as we have been living culturally here. But it's remarkable here to see that the number of people who don't believe in God, or a God who is distant and who is not affecting our lives whatsoever. Our founders didn't think that. Certainly some of them were deists, but if you read some of the quotes of the founders, it's pretty obvious that they thought that they were doing the things that God wanted them to do in the foundation of this country and the fight for independence. Quick time out though, my friends. Sit tight. Back here in just a minute.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
Hello, it's your favorite president telling Todd Huff listeners about Mega Milk Protein Powder. That's what we're calling it, Mega Milk. It's protein for patriots, okay? American-made Mega Milk destroys dad bods and builds a big, beautiful wall of mega muscle on your entire body. So true. Don't buy protein made in China. You'll be a total disaster, a weak loser. Your workouts are winning. Drink Mega Milk. Go to MegaMuscle.com and put some Trump in your pump. MegaMuscle.com.
Seeking natural solutions for your health and wellness? Look no further than Garden Root Remedy. We offer handcrafted herbal tinctures, salves, teas, and more made with only the highest quality organic herbs. We provide personalized consultations to help you find the perfect herbal remedy for your specific needs. Experience the power of nature's healing touch. Visit Garden Root Remedy online at gardenrootremedy.com. That's gardenrootremedy.com. Rooted in nature, blooming with wellness.
Welcome back, my friends. Third and final segment of this, the second hour of our program today here on St. Patrick's Day, of all days. All right, so I want to shift gears here, final segment as well. I want to share with you some new polling data for both Trump and the Democrat Party. It is very good for Trump and very bad for the Democrats. Now, there's other things I want to get to that I've just simply not been able to get to today. Let me at least mention those. We've got this fight over whether or not Trump can use a law from 1798 to deport people who are members of violent gangs. So that's from foreign countries. That's going on. We've got this fight over this Mahmoud Khalil, who, this is something I want to get to as well. I just don't have the time today as I'm wrapping up this hour. I've only got a few minutes left. So those are things that are on my radar, and time permitting, during the rest of the week, I will hopefully be able to get to these things. All right, so before I do that, though, my friends, you know that there is nothing, there's very little anyway, that's more important than a good night's sleep. Boy, I got a good night's sleep last night. That's where we recharge to fight the battles of the day, whether we're raising our families, whether we're running our business, whether we're working hard, whether we're standing up for what's right in this wonderful country. That's why I love My Pillow. They've got everything you need. They've got patented pillows, luxurious towels, unbelievably comfortable slippers that feel like you're walking on clouds. Oz has hers on in the studio right now. Let's not forget, my friends, these products are made right here in America. You're not just buying comfort, you're supporting American jobs and values as well, supporting a patriotic company and a patriotic founder who loves this country, who's got a great story as well. So, go to mypillow.com. You can use promo code TODD for savings on their products there. Don't wait, whether it's for your sleep, your mornings, or just a little bit of extra comfort, my friends. MyPillow has you covered. MyPillow.com, promo code TODD will get you some discounts there. Comfort, my friends, that you can believe in. All right, so let's look at this latest polling here. This is at lifezet.com. Again, as everything else, this is posted on the stack of stuff on our website at toddhuffshow.com. 3 months into his second term, President Donald Trump has reached the highest approval rating of his presidency, according to a newly released NBC News poll. The survey also found that more Americans believe the country is on the right track than at any point since 2004, signaling a shift in public sentiment. So think about that. The American people are more on board with this, what's happening with Trump, than they were with President Joe Biden, with Trump in his first term, with President Obama, and with the second half, if you will, the second term of George W. Bush. Not since the days of, not long after 9/11, right? In those early days. I remember that time period, my friends. That was a time when America united in ways that I've never seen in my life. But we're going back to those days or shortly after those days. The poll released Sunday showed that 47% of registered voters approve of Trump's performance, 51% disapprove. You'll say, well, he's still underwater there. That is true. But again, there is more people who think this country's on the right track than at any point since 2004. So this marks the highest point. Trump's approval rating at 47%, marks the highest rating for Trump in NBC's polling history, tying previous highs recorded in early 2020 and October of 2018. Real Clear Politics has Trump's approval rating at 48.2%. But let's also let's leave his numbers alone, because there's specifics on the tariffs and the economy and all this sort of stuff. But if you look at the approval rating for the Democrat Party, it's quite atrocious, my friends. What is it? Here we go. Favorable view of the Republican Party is only at 36%. Favorable view of the Democratic Party is at 29%. 29%. Folks, I don't have a lot of time here, but this echoes a lot of what we've been talking about. What Trump is doing, specifics notwithstanding. People like the idea of Doge. People don't like the speed at which or the drastic actions with which that Doge is taking. People don't like that. Not all the people. You and I, well, I do. But people are largely in favor of what's going on. Their differences often simply come down to how quickly or some specific, how quickly Trump is doing it or how specifically he's handling a situation. Or in the case of Doge, a lot of people have been conditioned to hate Elon Musk, who somehow became public enemy number one amongst the left. Anyway, they are reeling. They are out of ideas. They are in an utter mess right now. The Democrat Party. What is happening is popular in this country. Trump is going to continue to push forward full steam ahead, full speed ahead. And I am here for it, my friends. But I'm not here for it right now because I've got to go. Thanks for listening, SDG.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
Looking for a knife that's more than just metal? The Rainy Forge handcrafts blades in a real coal forge, the way they were meant to be made. Every knife is meticulously crafted, hair-popping sharp, and built to last a lifetime. From hunting to cooking, we've got a blade for you. Affordable heirloom quality. Visit therainyforgeblacksmith.com and click Buy a Knife to get started. The Rainy Forge, built with tradition, ready for your adventure.